But it's the time efficiency of not having to travel to meetings. You can't blame traffic anymore. And collaborative workshopping from people around the country, not people who can physically get there on the day, that is appealing this new technology to farmers and the industry for a new way of extension. AbacusBio is taking a lead in moving RMPP groups rapidly online and working to bring other conferences, workshops and courses online. So we're heading to Dunedin to catch up with Jonah Duckle from AbacusBio to discuss this new technology. Firstly, Jonah, for those watching who you lost or I lost at Zoom, can we just back the truck up and explain how does this technology work?
Yeah, so what we're talking about mostly here is just video conferencing technology, which has really only gotten to the point where it's really usable on broadband internet connections with modern laptops and HD cameras and things like that. In really the last 5 years or so, it's we've been Skyping and doing video calls for much longer than that, but the technology has been sort of painful to use for quite some time. Whereas tools like Zoom and getting on Google Hangouts and this House Party app, I confess I haven't tried House Party, are all better experiences for more people to connect to each other, and that's really where the magic is starting to happen, is when you can get more people collaboratively working together on these tools.
Can you talk us through how AbacusBio is, who AbacusBio is, sorry, how they're helping with this technology shift?
Yeah, so AbacusBio is a firm in Dunedin that has a strong farm consulting component and also does a lot of breeding indexes and kind of genetic selection, genetic improvement programs for a lot of international producers around the world. We have a vibrant farm consulting practice and quite a few RMPP facilitators who've been running some groups around the region that they tend to get together with in person for a lot of the meetings. But when we heard that lockdown was coming, we kind of rapidly moved to try technology that we had all been experimenting with and playing before, and saying, hey, let's get our groups together and let's get them talking and collaborating and getting together, and let's set the bar low. Let's just get them connected and talking to each other, because people are stuck at home. They can't go out and talk to each other. And we just wanted to kind of start getting people connected together through these tools. And Abacus is really about understanding people and how people make decisions, so that we can get better technology, better science onto farm, getting through the sort of human challenges of understanding how to work better, how to bring a little bit of new science or expertise or technology onto the farm for economic and social benefit to the farmers.
I know one of the frustrating parts of our sector, and Joan, I understand you have had a long history of working in the agriculture industry back in the States as well, is adoption of science and adoption of technology. How have you seen that explode when you're sort of forced to?
So I think it's really interesting. Farmers tend to adopt a lot of technologies that are useful to their farm business. In the States, I'm familiar with big broadacre systems and, 6-figure combine harvesters and things like that change the game. If you can drive them more efficiently to the millimeter on your field, you can get more crop out. So farmers do adopt technology, all the time. I think it's an interesting case here with this kind of video technology that when forced to use this particular technology, a lot of people are going, oh wow, why haven't I used this before? And there just hasn't really been the impetus to use it before. So I think the history of farming. I went to an agricultural school, Purdue University in the States, that had guys who would rip out a welder and fix anything metal that was broken. They're complete technology nuts. When you find people running, $100,000 pieces of equipment, you've got to really understand how things work. And I think this is just a new piece of the puzzle. I think you see a lot of farmers doing, targeted marketing. I've seen some really interesting things going on with small producers that I'm used to going to the farmers market here using, Facebook and Twitter and anything they can find to say, hey, we're still open, we're still an essential service, we can get produce to you. So I think all of that is part of the technology ecosystem that really brings you the competitive advantage in this farm marketplace today.
Yeah, and we had last week on the show the Make It To You team that got New Zealand's first online farmers market off the ground, utilising pretty poor, not poor, but not the best broadband out of rural North Canterbury. So that was really exciting to see. How do you think we can actually bring our policymakers that usually don't really want an excuse to leave Wellington and our rural communities closer together on some more collaborative decision making, especially with policy making?
Well, one of the really interesting things that was part of one of these discussion groups that I was just kind of sitting in as a co-facilitator, kind of helping to make sure the technology moved along, that people are saying was, this gives us the ability to not have to drive into town the 90 minutes, the 3 hours, whatever it is. It also gives us the ability to say we want to run a forum that involves people on the North Island and the South Island at the same time and syncs them up to have conversations. So I think it's, it's early days, but I think it's a really exciting possibility to build some forums and some conversations and ways in which we can get both the policymakers and the kind of rural producers and farmers together in the same virtual rooms, facilitate workshops and sessions. One of the amazing things to me using this technology is that is relatively recent. Again, in the last 3 years or so, you've been able to take a whole group of people and say 100 people on a call and break them into small groups of 4 people each and say, introduce yourself to each other and have a chat. And then 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, you say, okay, we're going to mix it up and have, groups of 4 mix up again and meet someone else. And these are all kinds of things that emulate. They're not the same as going to, field days and seeing the person you've known for 30 years and bumping into them, but they're different ways that we can still mix and meet people and find common threads and build the future together.
Yeah, and as we're talking there, potentially field days online being a new virtual way of hosting field days. Mm-hmm. Just lastly, the technology allows for us to join via audio when we do have maybe some rural broadband connectivity issues. For those who are listening live on our radio right now on Farmers Weekly website or on podcast, don't think because you don't get a very good broadband connection you can't participate.
Yeah, and there are some interesting ways in which we're able to use things like shared documents and other tools, online polls and chats, so that we can still create a good experience for people, even if they don't have full broadband connections and we can't see a good video stream from them. There are ways to facilitate meetings that are inclusive to people at all levels of broadband that they have available.
That is Jonah Duckle from AbacusBio.
This is Sarah's Country.